how familiar would you guys say you are with the Sex and the City gals?
Fairly.
Very.
Very okay, great. Do you have any issue with me saying Charlotte is a Hufflepuff, Miranda is a Ravenclaw, Carrie is a Slytherin, and Samantha is a Gryffindor?
Yeah, that's actually really good.
That tracks.
Yeah. Wow, Samantha is a Gryffindor. That's
Yeah, that one took a second. It was the Carrie and Samantha that were the harder ones to place.
Yeah.
But Carrie is so Slytherin. Anyway.
Yeah. She's a terrible person.
Beautiful. Moving on.
Continuing completed classics. Fulfilling failed franchises. Reinvigorating reviled rehashes. It's the follow-up Showdown! With Paul Getz, Travis McMaster, and Lauren Pacorni.
Hello and welcome to the follow-up Showdown 2 Nerds in Quarantine, where we give worthy second chapters to stories that don't have them. I am your host, Paul Getz, and if this is the first time you're tuning in, the way it works is we take a movie with no sequel, or a sequel that leaves its viewers unfulfilled, and one by one do our darndest to come up with a better continuation. Travis and Lauren will not be joining us today because we have got a full house of gorgeous guests here to talk about today's movie, 2010's Sex and the City 2. And those guests are, one at a time, not her first time on the show, but her first time as an official guest, comedian, writer, my girlfriend, Kim Seltzer. Oh, sorry. Once I introduce each of you, just to get this out of the way, hit me with which character you are on the show. Okay. So, Kim Seltzer.
I'm a Miranda meets Big.
Comedian extraordinaire, Aliya Kamalova.
Hi, yes. Charlotte X Miranda, like both combined. Okay. I think we decided, I don't want to spoil it, but I think we decided we all have a little bit of Miranda. Some more than others.
Okay, so then we also have failed comedian and future Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Anika Miller.
Hi, I think I'm actually just a pure Miranda. I think there's no crossing there.
And finally, actress, supermodel, and future EGOT winner, Marina Miller.
Hi, everyone. I'm a Charlotte/Carrie. I used to think I was more Carrie, but after watching these two movies, I think I'm more of a Charlotte now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a similar sort of identity crisis with these movies because I used to think of myself as a pure Steve, but after what happens with Steve in the first one, I was not okay with that, and Kim helped me to realize that I am a Steve Charlotte, the Steve Charlotte, which I'm totally fine with.
Oh, that's a great combo. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Yeah. All right. Well, getting right into it, let's start by talking about the first movie, Sex and the City, the 2008 classic. What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't call it a classic.
I mean, it's unique.
I felt as I was watching it, and this was my first time seeing it, as I would tell anyone who was going to watch it to just turn that off and watch a few episodes instead.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I would say it was about 3 episodes worth of show.
It's got to be more than that. It's got to be.
Yeah.
6.
They try to really have like an arc for each character within a basically 2.5 hour film. I think it was or just over 2 hours, just so long. It's crazy. Like, they try to give time to all the characters to have their own adventures, but ultimately don't. Or they just kind of focus on one and then forget the others.
I would argue that all of the actual plot comes at the beginning and the end. Yeah. Speaking of which, sorry to interrupt the flow here, but this is
really rolling.
This is a good time for me to serve as the Travis today and do the 2 minutes describing what happens in both of these movies.
Paul Goats.
You got the timer there? Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, Sex and the City. Carrie is a well-known author who is getting married to her boyfriend, Big. Because of her celebrity, the wedding becomes a big event that the groom isn't comfortable with, causing him to jilt her at the altar. Her friend Miranda, her husband, cheats on her, and she leaves him for a spell. Charlotte, her other friend, gets pregnant. Her friend Samantha is with her boyfriend, Smith. At the end of the movie, Carrie forgives Big. Charlotte has the baby, Miranda forgives Steve, and Samantha breaks up with Smith. In the middle, Carrie has an assistant, played by Jennifer Hudson, who moves to New York to fall in love. She does, and then she leaves New York. Sex and the City 2. Carrie and Big,
Wait,
Carrie's worried about...
You forgot Mexico. Yeah. They have a whole girls' trip to Mexico.
Okay, there's a girls' trip to Mexico to make Carrie feel better about the jilting at the altar. Sex and the City 2, Carrie is worried about her and Big becoming a boring married couple. Miranda hates her job and quits it. That's it. Charlotte is worried that her husband's going to cheat with their braless nanny. Samantha gets a free trip to Abu Dhabi, brings all the girls along. While she's in Abu Dhabi, she is deemed too sexual, and they kind of get kicked out of Abu Dhabi. While they're there, Carrie runs into her ex-boyfriend, Aiden. They kiss, and nothing comes of it. In the end, her and Big are fine, and that's it, right?
Oh, only a minute 27, 28.
That's
Oh,
good.
nice. Yeah. Okay.
You did it.
Well, there's not a lot of plot in these movies, I guess. And they're both 2+ hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was no editing that seemed to happen.
The movies were just made for the visual of it, right? Like, just for the clothes, just for, like, gorgeous architecture, and then Love Letter to New York. Those are, like, the 3 pillars that both the movies are built on, and then, like, let's try to stretch out stuff from the show to put on top of it, plot-wise.
But in both movies, they leave New York. Like,
Yeah.
that's where all the plot happens, but they leave the plot, and then
Yeah, I
come
don't
back
know
to the
that I
plot.
get Love Letter to New York.
No, the
get
Love
it.
Letter to New York is the first 5 minutes when they have the special
Oh, okay.
He's New York Sex and the City remix song. Did you hear that in the off the second movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'd agree. It does just kind of drop after that.
Although I would say I was more obsessed with the remix song at the beginning of the first one, Supercalifragisexy. That was...
That song was called like Labels and something. And then she works it into her dialogue and she's like, there's 2 things women love.
yeah.
Labels and Love.
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 Labels and
know.
Love.
Yeah, that's what it was called according to the Amazon Prime, like fun facts tab. that came up.
Oh, speaking of fun facts, I mean, I have fun facts, but I'm going to let you prompt me when you want one.
One that's at the surface, just boiling, so I want to hear it.
Oh, so we all
Okay,
have one.
cool. Yeah,
Wait,
there's just one.
Can you say a fun fact, one for each of us, based on our personalities as the
Oh, I
characters?
love that.
Ooh, okay, based on your character personalities. Okay. You were Big Miranda?
Yeah.
Okay. So for you, Kim, and we'll spread these out over the course of the episode.
Mhm,
I'm just
yeah.
going to do this one for now. This may be the first movie to feature an iPhone. That's not 100% confirmed, but it is at
maybe.
least one of the first.
I
Even though
love
none of
that
the...
scene where Carrie's like, I don't know how to use this.
Yes.
Yeah. Which actually, Paul and I talked about this the whole time we were watching, which was that for some reason Carrie's phone has tape all on it. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I saw that too, and I was a little confused. I think that part might have been one of the only scenes that had been edited out. Like,
I think it's just supposed to symbolize how just like such a writer she is. She's like, I have a broken phone. I don't care. I'd rather use a pen. Ever heard of one? I think that's what they were trying to convey.
Yeah.
I looked into this because I was obsessed with it, because it was hideous. I was like, every time they brought up the phone, I was like, why is there is there so obviously tape all over it? And while we were in the course of the movie, the only thing I could come up with was, oh, it's so you don't feel bad when she throws it away.
In the ocean.
But
Otherwise, you feel devastated.
oh yeah,
I was gonna say I was almost waiting for that phone to like make an appearance on the coast somehow of New York, and like it washes. Like the fountain
yeah.
it really zoomed in on it in the water,
Yeah.
and I was thinking like, where is it going? But it never came.
Like it found its way home, possibly. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we should have put that into our sequel.
We should have. Yeah,
Hey, there's still time.
You still can. We haven't
I haven't
heard
got
it.
to the pitches yet.
I already wrote it. We've committed.
No. apparently the real reason that phone has tape on it is writer-director Michael Patrick King wanted to use the phone that she had in the series, but wanted to show that time had passed. So they put tape on it. Which, to me, I mean, I guess I understand your point about her being a writer, but to me, it is an accessory type of phone because it's all bejeweled and stuff. So it doesn't seem like something Carrie would do, just walk around with a duct-taped phone.
I also think it is clear time has passed.
Right.
Relying on the phone to show us that.
The writer-director of this movie, Michael Patrick King, the head writer of the series, co-creator of The Comeback, and also Two Broke Girls. I have a couple weird notes about him. He insisted and scheduled this movie so that it would be shot in exactly 69 days. And also for the auction scene where Samantha tries to buy her ring, he really wanted for her number to be 69, but the prop department didn't have that available, so it became 969.
That's crazy that the prop department refused to make that.
That's what I thought too. It's like that's their whole job.
I mean, a paddle is wood and paper.
Yeah,
they could definitely.
They needed a printer. They just needed a printer.
But I guess that just like with the way Two Broke Girls is written and Sex and the City, I guess he just loves sex jokes to be that fixated on something like that.
He's a Samantha.
Yeah. Oh, right. I guess that's true.
Yeah. Didn't you see the second one as well, Paul? Because I felt like it was even more blatant in the second one.
Yes, he did. Oh, yes. The only actor's note I had on the first movie is other people considered to play Louise, the Jennifer Hudson character. Kelly Rowland.
Roland.
Sorry.
Roland, show some respect.
And Beyonce.
Beyonce? That would have been a whole other movie.
Yeah. Which
why'd they need a singer?
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Powers.
That's my question. Is all three actresses, including the one who got it, are singers, and that character does not.
Song at the ending credits, right? Played over. Is that the only reason they needed a singer as the assistant? So they could like. I mean,
I guess that's true, except for they don't make it clear that that's who's singing that song.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that actually.
Yeah. She actually also did the song at the end for the end credits of 2, the True Colors into Your Colors, which was her song.
Oh.
I said to Kim at some point during the movie that the character Saint Louise from St. Louis might as well be a ghost in Carrie's head. I mean, it doesn't change the plot one way or another.
Yeah, she does not interact with any single other person.
She only interacts with Carrie, and she just helps Carrie get her life together.
Yeah.
And then leaves.
Also, she does that, and it's no fun whatsoever. Like, if they had her meet the girls, or you actually watched her meet that guy, and, like, get to know that guy, that would have been kind of nice.
Okay, Paul, but Carrie bought her at least 2 drinks. Okay, so
I think Carrie was drinking for 2 that night.
Yeah,
I think she was just only looking for herself, and that was all sort of a dialogue in her head.
And she also bought herself that purse at the end.
And that's why she said it was money well spent.
Yeah,
yes, exactly, because it made her so happy. It was a gift for herself because she got her life together after Big.
Yeah,
I feel like that character could have just been like an anthropomorphized version of her like taking meds or something. Like it's not a real person, but it is her getting her life together and like using an actual like coping mechanism instead of I guess just like sleeping. But yeah, there was no purpose for her to be there other than like she was a delightful character. But
I do believe there's evidence that St. Louis is a figment of Carrie's imagination because in the first movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Jennifer Hudson's character has the keychain that just says love on it. And in the second movie, Carrie has that keychain on her keys.
But she gives it to her.
Oh, right. Because love is the thing, you know.
She goes, I already found mine.
Also, they pronounced St. like Louis differently like each time. So it was like St. Louis, St. Louise, obviously a play on her name, but it was like they never said it, I feel like, the same way.
One way. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not interesting.
Well, who knows?
At the same time, so boring.
More evidence that she's just a figment of her imagination.
She did have her medication levels correct.
Yeah, so she started pronouncing cities different ways, and one thing led to another.
It honestly makes more sense for her to be spiritual representation of Carrie's healing, because you don't see Carrie change or struggle at all. I mean, she's depressed for a while, and then it's just kind of like the movie happens and she talks to Louise, and then at the end, a coincidence as big being there when Charlotte's water breaks is what gets them in a situation where they can see each other at all. And by then, she's already forgiven him. So you don't get to see any part of the process.
Yeah, she didn't learn. No one learns anything.
Yeah,
I will say, I think she might
at the
have
bar.
code the website and set that up. If Louise is a ghost, then Carrie put her mind to figuring out how to put a website together. And
Great point. That's such a lawyer way of thinking.
That is a good point. Oh, the only other thing I can think to bring up for fun about the first movie, when Steve shows up at the party to talk to Miranda, and Charlotte goes and gets him, and then Miranda gets mad and talks to Big and sets off the whole domino chain. In that scene, when Charlotte goes and gets Miranda, Kim was specifically saying that she would say, I would say, is it an emergency?
Yeah, you'd at least ask what it's about. It's like, well, actually, we're celebrating the engagement of our friend, and if you know us at all, that's the only thing we care about. So it's actually crazy you're here.
Well, what a different movie it would have been if she hadn't let him in the party, or she hadn't gotten Miranda.
I guess, but it's like, I still don't blame Miranda.
Right.
Big, sort of throughout the whole TV series, has proved himself not to be the best guy.
I hate Big. Yeah.
Well, no way he knows how to cook a dinner like that, nor would he.
Also, where does the closet come from?
He makes it. He says he made it.
Yeah, but did he cut into another room that existed?
Oh, right.
Okay, have you ever read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Kim?
No. What do you think?
Magic.
No.
Basically is the answer.
No, exactly. I think it was another piece of magic. If you actually look at the movies, there's a lot of magic in them.
I did have a couple things to add to the first movie, if that's
please.
Add. One, Carrie would never have picked out the Stute wedding dress.
Yes.
Convinced.
Yeah. Yes. Great point. Yeah.
Also, the point where she asks Big about, like, have you ever written me a love letter? And then he's like, does a love fax count? And I was just imagining him sending her on a fax machine, like, love letters. And
and then she was like, no, you haven't.
This seems like a good transition for me to share this fun fact. The Love Letters of Great Men book, that is such a symbolic thing in their relationship, did not exist. It was made up for the movie. And then after this movie came out, there was such high demand for it that they had to make one and release it in tandem with the DVD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? The fact that the prop department could make a fake book cover like it was in the letter. Suddenly they didn't want to have the 69 joke in there.
We used the last of our printer paper on the book.
No ink.
You know how expensive ink is? I want to talk about in the first movie how Stanford is in tons of scenes. Zero, maybe one line
is one line. Yeah, and it's not a laugh line. It's just something like, where?
I didn't notice that.
I noticed that he was in a lot of scenes and that he really wasn't getting any actual lines, any character development, literally anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, they represented him in the second one pretty heavily at the front.
It's all about him at the beginning.
I will say Samantha being in LA the entire first movie, it's just like every time she enters a scene, there has to be a reunion scene, like where they're just like, oh my god, you're here. It's like, because she theoretically flew in, but she seems like she flew in every weekend. She's like at all their events, like still going to dinners with them. Hasn't missed a single thing. But yeah, they always have a moment of like, oh my God. She's like, it's
Also, it really felt weird that they pack up Carrie's whole apartment and then she gets it back and then keeps it for the rest of the movie and through the second movie as well. So like to have left it at all is...
I'd say every single thing they do with her apartment in both movies makes no sense. In the second movie, the idea that the agreement they come up with is that Big will go stay in her apartment for 2 days a week.
When literally what worked was she went.
Well, also, because he would watch TV, and it's like, well, does she have a TV in her apartment? Because about getting a TV in the other apartment.
Also, Kim didn't have a problem with this. I had a problem with the fact that in the second movie, she says she goes there sometimes to visit the clothes, only because if literally all she's ever doing is looking at them, she should donate them.
No,
Please.
I don't think that's part of her character.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think she appreciates clothing.
she should put it in her massive closet that they have.
Like 4 times the size of my New York studio. Her walk-in closet. Or like 5, 6 times.
6 times, yeah.
So the high heels, the blue peacock high heels that are the thing she goes back for at the end of the first one. Do you know, how do I pronounce this guy's name? Manolo
Blahnik.
Yeah. So the sales of those heels skyrocketed because of this movie, and the designer was really annoyed. He is quoted as saying, "We had a very good year last year thanks to those stupid satin shoes. If people talk about Sex in the City to me one more time, I get sick."
Oh, man.
Quote, but
That sounds very ungrateful.
He wants it to be high fashion and exclusive, and it became too inclusive, I guess.
well, the last fun fact I have from the first one is that in the scene where Miranda is looking for a new apartment in Little Hungary, I think they call it.
Also, just weird moment of being like, follow the white man. That's where we need to go.
Oh, I know.
That was we were both cringing, and I was embarrassed for them.
Yeah.
I mean, and as crazy front to back as the second one is, we'll get into that in a minute, but that moment, plus Charlotte has a moment in Mexico. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I guess that was always part of the show. So it's not a sin exclusive
being
to these
problematic.
movies. Yeah. So when Charlotte or Miranda goes to see her new apartment in Old Hungary, the 2 moving men that say coming or going as they walk by, one of those is Lin-Manuel Miranda. Hamilton.
He was in the show, though. He was in the show too when he was starting out.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't Lin-Manuel Miranda play like a bellhop or something in the show? Or is that from Sopranos?
Maybe he's friends with MPK.
I think he might be an MPK guy. He might be like in that crew.
Yeah.
I will
the
report,
MBK Tourage.
Oh, to be in that
report that,
Okay, so then moving into the movie we're here to improve upon, hopefully, Sex and the City 2. The first one got a 71% Rotten Tomatoes score. Does anyone want to guess the second one's score?
42.
18.
31.
16. So Marina got the closest. Yeah.
I was so shocked whenever I was looking back on both films, trying to like organize, because I watched the first one last night and the second one like earlier today. So it was difficult for me to suss out what happened in what movie, because I thought about the like, Liza Minnelli part of like full dance sequence, and I was like, was that the same movie where they spend an entire like trip to the Middle East? Like, that was crazy to me. It's like, I can't believe that happened from the same movie.
Well, here's the thing. The Middle East part, that doesn't happen till like an hour into the movie.
Yeah, it's halfway through.
I mean, and that's, both movies have, they go, it's like you watch 6 different
episodes of the show, yeah.
Actually, the first movie specifically is like, there's like season markers. Like, every time the season changes, it's like, it starts in what I think is summer, and then it goes through fall. You see Charlotte getting more pregnant, and then winter, and then they go to like spring fashion week. So it's like a full year passes, and we watch the entire year. There's no leap whatsoever. And so this one was equally as long, but within one season, presumably, of like
a month.
Yeah,
I guess.
because they said they're
Yeah.
going on the trip in 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, and they're only there for a week or less.
Well, 2 days or 3 days or
3
something.
days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was very confused about the time frame in Aliya. It seemed like it was taking a long time, and they were only there for 2 days or something.
Well, and this is jumping ahead, but when they go back home, and a part of Carrie's narration is, and it turns out Big wasn't there to pick me up at the airport. I was thinking, you came home like a week early or something, right? I mean, yeah.
That they had to, basically like flee from the country.
Which all played for laughs. That's the other thing. I think, yes, the second one is like completely problematic, in every possible way, but it's like if they just moved the focus of it a little bit and made it about how wrong they are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they are trying to make some good points in there, but like if they also pointed out that they're acting insane, it really would go a long way to ease some of the...
There was one moment at the wedding where Charlotte was like, shouldn't we be more PC? And I was like, oh, it's the first time they're even getting close to calling out, like, questioning themselves. And then immediately it's followed up with a joke, and then the rest of the movie really doubles down the other way.
It's so crazy how many times in the first 3 minutes they say gay wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite, I kept a running list of favorite worst lines. And I think one of them was, it was Miranda saying, whenever there's this much gay energy in a room, like Liza Minnelli just appears.
The writing of it was like, we got to work it in. Why is she here? Why did we give her a 10-minute dance performance? And it was just, that is why, because there's gay energy.
Yeah, I was bringing up to Paul how long that song seemed going to be performing, which ends in the most confusing way.
Yeah, what was that line?
Joke.
It was literally something like, just wait, or something like that. Like, it made no sense, and everyone is going crazy. And I was like, what?
Right.
Really out of the loop on it. She was like in the middle of performing, and she's like,
I thought she was I thought she was going to have a stroke. Honestly, I thought that was like Liza Minnelli was going to die at the wedding.
That would have been on par with the rest of the movie.
Well,
and just killed her for no reason.
Kim talked about how long that was, but I was so appreciative of Liza's time in terms of doing that. I was like, okay, they got her here to do this. Let's see it.
I was impressed by her. The fact that they gave her so much time was insane, because I don't like when any movie has like a full musical performance in it if it's not a musical.
And once again,
not the one without Jennifer Hudson had multiple musical moments.
Yeah, one with Jennifer Hudson, none.
You know what I believe the point, quote unquote, of the second movie was, like the greater idea, I think, is what they were trying to convey is like, look at how restricted this patriarchal culture is in Abu Dhabi. The 4 of us American women are going to go on stage, sing about being independent women, and actually that'll unite all the women here. And guess what? We're all the same because we all wear Louis Vuitton at the end of the day. Like, that was the actual purpose of like the weird political like incorrectness that they were dishing out.
One of the craziest parts was when they just, at the end of the movie, have Samantha having sex in front of the fireworks. That was just like very patriotic to have sex in public.
To me, the ending of the second one felt just like the ending of an episode. The ending of the first one felt like the ending of a movie, and the ending of the second one was like, the end of all their storylines, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Maybe
credits.
it's a season finale versus a movie ending.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to say, I think that the first hour of the second movie, before they get into Abu Dhabi, I think is better than the first movie. Because I feel like, I feel like Carrie, actually all the characters are more themselves than they are in the first movie. The first movie, I feel like Carrie's personality actually makes no sense. Like, she's acting as if she doesn't know Big at all when she's becomes obsessed with the wedding and then is surprised when he doesn't care about it. In the second movie, it's like, oh, it's like actually sort of an interesting them
like
arguing
a complex issue that they're having.
Right.
And if I just didn't go to Abu Dhabi, it would have been so much better.
I wish we had more Aiden because I really liked him from the series. And it was just so funny that he was even dropped into this movie at all.
Yeah.
And it became like nothing really happened except strengthen her relationship. Like it revealed no flaws in the relationship. And the only flaw was that she didn't have a wedding ring was
Actually,
the flaw.
What I think it does is that it sort of forgives her for cheating on him in the series. Because, like, well, now he's cheating on his wife and he has 3 sons, so I guess he's just as bad.
It tarnishes Aiden.
Oh, it does.
And it also, I mean, like, I thought that there was going to be, because I had seen this movie before, I didn't remember a lot of it, but I thought that there was going to be a scene where they talked again after the kiss, but it really just leaves him in a dark, sad place.
Yeah. He has to go home and face Homer, Wyatt, and Jake, or whatever. His 3 sons and his beautiful wife, Kathy, that she knows, apparently.
Yeah, that's rough. It would have been nice to bring back a little bit more of their dynamic. For it to be 2.5 hours and have that part of the movie be so slight, even for the sake of the plot, reminding her of what worked would have been helpful.
But instead, they cheapened it, and actually, we got one of our favorite worst quotes from that date night scene with Aiden.
Yeah.
Which Anika,
you're not like other women, but you look good. I'm sorry, but you do.
Yo, that was like he had. And I was like,
then he goes, after that, he goes, "You're so hot." I think is
But my favorite part was when, like, right before he was like, every time I come out here, I try and memorize another name for one of the Arab Emirate countries. He's like, 4 now. And I'm like, there's only... Yeah.
How long does it take you to remember 7? It's really confusing. I think that's maybe what they were trying to show us is that he was maybe losing his mind a little bit, which is why he kissed her and why he was so incoherent at the dinner when he was like, you're not like other women, but you look good. I'm sorry, but you do. You're hot. Like, this was just a train wreck.
I wish they did bring back more of every guy she dated, like just to have them in a randomly like one scene, because they clearly just bring stuff back for like the fans. Everyone's in Abu Dhabi, randomly.
And Abu Dhabi, the other thing I wanted to bring up about Abu Dhabi is the way they get there is that Samantha is meeting the man who owns the hotel. Smith tells that man that she made my movie career. And then he says, maybe you can do the same thing for our hotel, which seems like a very different skill set. But hey, but they had to get, like, that's the other thing is, like, for as tone deaf as it seemed, they really seemed to think they had something. They went hard at it and they did everything to get there and make it about that.
But you know what Anika and I were thinking is that they go to Abu Dhabi like for the wealth. I think they even say we're sick of this poverty, basically, of the recession. I want to go somewhere rich. So I feel like it was such a escapist film, like those Great Depression movies where Shirley Temple's tap dancing, and they were kind of like trying to make Abu Dhabi that, like for the American viewers.
I thought it was a lot
deeper message they were trying to convey is like, well, you think America's bad? Well, go to the Middle East.
Maybe they were trying to say, like, you think all we need is money, but look at this place with so much money, and like you wouldn't want to be a woman here.
You can't have sex on a beach there.
Actually, money isn't everything. Sex is everything.
The universal language. I feel like I had some moment of genuine, I don't know if it was genuine, but laughter throughout the movie where I would laugh out loud, and I think it was usually some Charlotte reaction. I love her. Like, she's such a unique character, like, to be hanging out with all of them, and I really appreciate that in her.
The moment where she was saying, I don't know, I'm a little drunk.
That was like the Liza Minnelli finale moment. Like, I just had no idea what was happening. I really felt like I was
It's funny that she gets everyone together and it's like, everyone, like, I need everyone on all hands on deck to figure out whether I should tell Big that I could see it. Like, just don't, like, it's fine. And she's like, I'm gonna call him. And like, just immediately goes against, like, she gathered everyone up to be like, you know what, this is about me. I need to make the decision on it.
They did do that weird humping dog thing.
Oh, was not a fan. That was so weird.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the thing is like, that is just, to me, to bring it up so often, it was kind of just poor taste. Like, it was just really, like, we don't have to really have that in there for 2 movies. And Sarah Jessica Parker produced both movies. Yeah. She was a producer on them both. So, and she has great taste. How did she not say
something? She might have just gotten the credit so she can get more money. She might have just negotiated that and not really done any extra work.
I don't think she had any power, though, over that. I just feel like she should have been like, this is not happening in my life.
I did, when I saw that, I pointed out to Paul, I was like, this is like one of those moments where you could tell this movie was written by a man.
That and the Charlotte
you can tell the
keeping
whole
her
series
pants
is.
moment
Yeah.
were both.
It's like, okay, this is like, they're losing their audience.
It was like, Charlotte.
Or also when Samantha had, like, I guess gained some weight, and then like all of them was like, what about a gut?
Yeah.
Like,
She really had any, like, she's still slim.
At first, I didn't get what they were reacting to. I like, whenever she came in, it was supposed to be like this horror, like, oh my god moment, and I like, didn't notice until like the second line of someone pointing it out explicitly, and I was like, oh,
Well, and they,
okay.
they hammered on it, and then she goes, I mean, we would think you were gorgeous at any size. Just, you know.
Yeah. They really missed the mark in just that one point, and the rest of it was perfect.
2 other really bad lines that I had from the second one. When Miranda is really like rushing into one of the cars at the airport, and she's saying, like, we've got so much to do in Abu Dhabi, and then she just screams out the window, Abu Dhabi do.
Yes. Was that a Scooby-Doo joke?
Is that what does Scooby say that when he
says
go do something?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Yeah, maybe that is.
Probably.
There's something to do in Abu Dhabi do. It's like a mom joke moment.
Yeah.
You know, there's a moment, you know how she's constantly trying to speak like Arabic throughout the entire film, and then when she's like so frustrated at the end when they're like loading up their fancy suitcases into like a not good car, and they're like, no, stop, and she just literally goes la 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 la.
Yeah.
And
that really no one stuck out.
Oh my god!
That was so funny to me. Oh, her Arabic was painful throughout the whole thing.
You should.
Well, the thing is so I went to high school in Kuwait and know like a tiny little bit of Arabic. Mm-hmm. And she, in the very beginning, when they're on the plane on their way to Abu Dhabi, she's like, "Oh yes, I've been brushing up on my Arabic."
Hakshima, yeah,
so
I think
she's
something
like
that.
Hakshima, and that could easily be a word in Arabic. I just don't know. But then the girls are like, well, what does that mean? She's like, it means yes. But Naam, which they also say later in the movie, Naam is what is like, that's what, that means yes in Arabic.
Okay, when I search Hakshima Arabic on Google, there's like, it says, it looks like there aren't any great matches for your search.
That's what I think. And throughout, when they had other characters speaking Arabic, like people you would think would be Arabic speaking, it sounded like it was not Arabic to me. Like a lot of the words weren't. So I think they actually did the classic Hollywood thing of making like a Middle Eastern language sound like gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem. It was so bad. Anyways, I think there were other instances. Yeah, well, I did have a soccer tournament in Abu Dhabi, so I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I can draw.
And how did your experience differ, if it did?
At all, yeah.
Well, in a lot of ways. I wasn't staying in a $22,000 a night suite.
But you did do karaoke?
I don't remember doing karaoke. That was not part of the trip either. But I can't really say that I relate to too much else in the movie. The Abu Dhabi experience. I wish I could. Oh, the one thing I will think is that you guys might be able to clarify this. When they're in the souk and then the hotel, concierge had told them not to shop with people who are selling those fake watches. What they said they could get arrested if they bought them, or what was the scary thing?
The forbidden experience.
Yeah, I don't think that they clarified what would happen to them, which is what I thought we would find out. I thought at some point they'd do it and then we'd find out, but they were already being kicked out of the country at that point.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty low in that part.
Yeah.
It's like,
That whole Sook scene at the end really just took a turn for the worse and was downhill from there.
Oh.
Like that Sook scene, I don't know what happened to the writers for that, but
The book club with that book. Like,
oh yeah, they all pull out that Samantha's book
Summer.
universe.
Yeah.
well,
I
Samantha
thought we were going to see.
screaming that she has sex in front of. It was like,
Oh my god, having a breakdown.
how?
Yeah.
You.
Her friends watch for a pretty long time before they're like, okay, this is
they're
too
like,
much. Her friend is breaking down. She's like sweating profusely. In the middle, a group of men are screaming at her, and you're just like, ugh, Samantha.
Yeah.
And then like they don't step in until like a bit goes by.
After she's already the one that's getting kicked out, like for kissing that guy. I mean, it's just like they're way too forgiving of Samantha the whole time.
Yeah.
That was the one plot point I left out of the minutes was her menopause. That is a pretty key
That's her whole storyline.
element.
it was a big plot driver, I feel like. Also, it gave us the other worst line, Lawrence of my labia.
Oh yeah.
I will say, I mean, yeah, obviously, it's a bad line, but that line she sold so well, and then immediately sold how much she loves Carrie with her like graph.
Yeah.
And I know that those two actresses don't get along, so I was like,
Yeah.
she's a hell of an actress at the very least.
The whole time I was thinking that.
How well she sells the love for those girls
Oh,
throughout the show and the
Yeah.
movie.
And
I don't know when the began, but I know it happened at some point, and I honestly never saw it.
difference.
Yeah, characterization.
Great.
And
She's great.
Samantha's love for them is super key.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Is it weird to anyone that Samantha was asked to be Carrie's maid of honor as a first pick?
Yes, that was strange.
So it was weird to Marina, but then my explanation is that Charlotte and Miranda are married, and traditionally maid of honor is someone who's not married. Otherwise, you have to say, my mom was
whoa.
Matron of honor.
Matron of honor.
But traditionally, you give it the position to someone who's not married, I think, because typically, what is the wisdom? Like, then they will be the next one to get married, and that's all we all want anyway, so.
Another point I will give Sex and the City 2, I loved them in 80s garb at the beginning.
Oh, I like that.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That was an eye-opener for me because the night before Marina and I had paused the first movie to try and figure out who met each other first.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We searched on Google. We were on like a Reddit forum.
yeah, people.
All you had to do was put the
no one-
SAT2 on.
Yeah, well, and also what's interesting is I feel like none of these Sex and the City fans on Reddit had seen the second movie because they're all like definitely Miranda first.
Yeah, they were like, she met all these theories, and then cut to we watched the movie the
Yeah,
next
it was
day, and
Charlotte.
it answered it within the first 5 minutes. So
I guess I'd always thought Miranda, then Samantha, then Charlotte. I don't know why, but that was how
I always thought Samantha was last.
Yeah.
I love that Charlotte first, since I'm a Charlotte.
Yeah.
I felt like that really made sense.
And since I'm a Steve Charlotte.
Yeah, that made you feel good too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm a Charlotte
Look at
Miranda.
Pretty much everything Charlotte does makes me feel good. She's great. Except for letting Steve talk to Miranda that night, you know.
Wasn't that Samantha?
It was Samantha that.
I thought it was Samantha that ran in to get.
It was Samantha
Miranda.
that ran in to get Miranda.
Oh, is that
Mhm.
So you don't even need to feel bad, Paul.
No, it was Samantha because of the cigars.
She's
And they're-
smoking cigars out with the guys.
Oh, that's
Guy.
right.
Mm.
Boy, in the first one, Harry is a hilarious little, like, lawn ornament that, like, you kept thinking of him as, like, the grandpa of the group because everything he said was like, look at how pretty she is, or, oh, I feel bad for the guy. It's like the wise old man character that,
But Harry was like husband of the year, I will say.
yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
you know, through thick and thin, he's always there. He also aged really well because Nike and I were commenting on how everyone aged.
But Charlotte did not.
Charlotte
and
aged
Harry
very
did
well, and the thing was Harry aged well because he was already bald like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So he really his look didn't change that much.
I think
It really looked great.
Aiden aged really well.
Yeah, Aiden looked good. I thought
Yeah.
Big looked better in 2 than in 1.
I think he made some regrets about his appearance in 1, and
That's
then
what I
maybe
thought.
adopted the new lifestyle for 2.
1 looked like he was wearing like a lot of makeup or like his eyebrows. Something was weird about his eyebrows. They were, like,
Yeah.
extra black or something.
Yeah, he clearly had like some makeup on his eyebrows to darken them. That reminded me of in the first movie when he's like deciding whether to go into the wedding or not.
Oh my god, this
There's
moment.
this crazy moment where he's like,
Come on, look at me.
come on, baby,
Yeah.
turn around and look at me. And then he definitely does.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's still not enough
Yeah.
for some reason.
Oh, he didn't get to see her whole face. He only saw like half of her face. What else
It's the
happened?
veil. The veil came down.
She started
Right.
just then. The veil started to fall down over her face.
And his face is just like, oh.
like,
It's really not.
I had the same question. She was like, "What does that even mean?" And I was like, he didn't feel enough of a connection.
Yeah.
He was asking for too much. I mean, she didn't even know before.
Well, but then when they drive by and he sees her full face in the limo, he gets out and goes,
I'm ready.
Sorry, I freaked out for a minute, but I'm ready now. Which I will also say, I remembered what he did. I mean, it was bad, but I remember it being worse than it was because there's all sorts of traps that sort of make it happen that way. And then he does almost right away say, I'm ready. And then she freaks out. Like, I thought maybe she made the situation worse right then.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I was kind of putting myself in her shoes in that moment, and I was like, "What would I do?"
There is so much media attention and that kind of thing. I think like decorum would be on her mind somewhat, but I mean, I don't know.
I think it'd be really
It's
hard to go through with a wedding after that, though.
Yeah,
It's like you
but
would
they don't
be in the
have
right
to know.
headspace.
But they don't have to know that he
No, but
was late.
she knows. And I'm
Okay.
saying for her to enjoy her own wedding would be like impossible at that point. Because
Okay.
it's like, okay, well, he ran, and the only reason he stayed is because he happened to pass me on the limo when he was going backwards on the one-way street.
And also, I heard the car when they left, it continued going the wrong way.
Yeah.
That too, it really bothered me. I'm like,
Honked behind him and said, "Let's get moving."
Yeah.
So he would have had to like just turn around and.
Yeah.
I don't know.
oh,
Okay.
why couldn't the limo have just pulled over?
They should have even drawn attention to, is it a one-way street or not? Like, that's
Yeah.
not the point. Like, he could have just been so desperate and I was like, turn around now. And then the guy's like, okay. There's no need to explain. But it's a one-way street. If I turn around, there's going to be other cars coming this way. And then the limo will be going.
And this is New York, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get into our pitches?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we've talked these movies up and down, I think, pretty thoroughly. So I always start the pitching with this first question, which I'm kind of going to alter for this episode. But should this movie have a sequel? And perhaps the question should be: should the series have these sequel movies?
Good question.
Well, these specific movies, or should it have a movie?
Well, the question normally is, should the movie have a sequel? So if you're thinking the first one's good and the second one's bad, should the first one even have a second one? But I think maybe the problem is that these movies shouldn't exist at all.
I think that they should have a movie because I think it's totally possible to do a good movie since the series is so good and they just fucked it up. So no, there shouldn't be a Sex and the City movie 2, but there should be a movie.
Okay.
Or there can be. I'm fine with it.
I like the idea that it released 4 years after the series ended, because then it's kind of a fun fan thing of just like, oh, we get to see where they are now. So I think just for that, it's like, sure, that'd be fun to do a movie.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need 2, probably. Or 3 like they planned, I guess.
I think I agree. I think I would probably have preferred it, honestly, if they just kept it with the show, because I feel like they really had the writing and like storylines for that amount of time down, and they were doing that really well. I think at the point that they made the first one, they should have a second one, because I didn't think the first one was very good. Now the problem was the second one, and I thought that was worse.
Yeah.
So
I have a similar. I agree with you because I thought the first one wasn't great when I first watched it. Then I watched the second one, and the second one made the first one look like an Oscar winner. The thing is from an actor's perspective, watching the second one, I was like, good for you guys. Like, just keep making these.
Yeah, that's what I felt too. Laughing all the way to the thick.
The third, fourth, and fifth. That's what I would have wanted if I had been in that. Because they already ruined the movie. Like, you can kind of at that point be like, the show was great. All the movies were bad. They make a lot of money though, so we'll just keep making them.
Well, which I think does make sense that Kim Cattrall didn't want to come back and the rest did, because probably to the rest of them were like, let's just make these because it's fun, because we're with our friends making this. And Kim Cattrall was like, I'm actually with my enemies.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I do get it.
all of them gave 100%. Like, when you look at bad sequels, a lot of the time what you're seeing is actors that didn't even want to come back, phoning it in, or being in it just a little bit, whereas these people, everybody's still at the top of their game.
I think the best way to describe it. So our mom was coming in and out as we were watching the second one today, and there's the scene where Miranda and Charlotte are talking about motherhood, and Charlotte's saying like, I feel like I'm failing at everything, and then Miranda's like, no, you're not failing, and then my mom just said, the writers are.
Oh.
She sums up everything to do with
Your mom goes, being a mom is so easy.
Okay, so I'm gonna go first with my pitch because I don't know, I'm just a little worried that it's just not gonna go that well. I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
Attention must be paid.
Where I was coming from with my pitch was trying to think of the first one as a movie in its own right, which is. Mm-hmm. I really tried, and it's
meaning
pretty.
The series doesn't exist.
Yeah, like, or thinking of it as like as if this movie existed and the series never did.
Impossible.
It's impossible. They don't even try to make that work. But what I did,
I mean, they have to play clips from the show at the beginning and like the weird credits sequence, which is like I was so confused by those graphics of like
the way they portray Miranda in the opening of the first movie is as if her storyline was just that she was dating this guy. And then got pregnant, so she got married to him.
Right.
And they didn't even mention she was a lawyer. They didn't mention anything about their relationship.
I wish we saw any of her work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear your pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Charlotte and Harry have bought a cabin in Vermont. And Carrie, Big, Miranda, Steve, Brady, Anthony, Stanford, and Samantha, so all the family, are set to come stay there on a week-long getaway. Charlotte is particularly excited to unveil her karaoke machine. And I want a scene of her rehearsing a duet with Harry, but being, like, disappointed in his performance. Like, come on, you gotta, honey, we're supposed to, you practice, or whatever. Carrie and Big remain happily married, but it seems to be affecting Carrie's writing negatively. Kind of hinted at in the second one, but yeah, more like specific that. So on the precipice of the getaway, her publisher calls her into a conference in which they discuss the poor performance of her last book. In the course of the conversation, the publisher references a rising star columnist in Chicago whose work is as cutting edge as Carrie's used to be. Turns out it's Louise. The former assistant has gotten divorced and now writes a column called The Saint of Single. Carrie is incensed and puts off leaving for Vermont to fly to Chicago and confront Louise. I want there to be a sequence when she gets there, like mimicking the opening credits of Sex and the City, where it's like she gets splashed by a bus, but on the bus is Louise. For her column.
I like that.
That is very good.
Samantha, who's not looking forward to the family-ridden cabin trip anyway, meets Carrie there for backup. After getting there, it doesn't take Carrie long to realize that Louise isn't in the wrong, and that it's all kind of stemming from her own insecurity of losing relevance. But she's made to feel better by falling in with Louise's own group of fabulous girlfriends, who help both she and Samantha sort of relive their younger days. And I'm thinking maybe there's like a subplot where there's a single guy who likes Carrie, and, there's some flirtation there and some temptation as well. Meanwhile, Big, Steve, and Harry are trying to maintain a nice time at the cabin. Charlotte and Miranda are becoming more and more upset. And Miranda specifically because this could almost be considered like a legal issue, and so she's upset that Carrie didn't ask for her backup. So once they put it off long enough, the girls make a plan and fly to Chicago to confront Carrie and Samantha specifically, and the men stay back with the kids. Miranda forgives Carrie easily enough because Carrie's whole point is that, like, I knew I didn't have a leg to stand on type of thing. But Charlotte is really, really hurt. The only thing that can soothe her...
Why is she hurt?
Because they didn't come to her cabin. They nixed the trip.
Okay.
The only thing that can soothe her is a trip out to an open mic venue where she's able to perform her rehearsed duet with Louise and they bring the house down. Then
Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson and Charlotte.
That's great.
And then, they go to the cabin in Vermont. They all enjoy themselves. And in the end, we learn that the narration that we've been hearing Carrie give is a foreword that she's written for Louise's newly released book, When Your New York Minute Ends. And the title of this movie is Sex and the Windy City.
Whoa.
That's good.
Oh,
That was excellent.
So that was more about legitimizing the first movie than anything else.
Well, I would rather have seen that movie any day.
Yeah.
I would watch that, but I don't like Miranda and Charlotte being mad at Carrie and Samantha, or them even being separated for that long.
Okay,
that's
fair.
I like the guys being together and having their own group of girls, basically.
Very good.
I love the idea of Chicago and sort of the imagery there that we would see.
Yeah,
because I
and the
also
fashion.
figured from St. Louis to
The songs
Chicago.
we'd hear, the street style we'd see.
Yeah.
It's unique to Chicago that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Good. Thanks for your time, guys.
Marina and I did a joint pitch just because we watched them together.
We're like a writer duo.
Do you want to go next?
We could go next.
Sure.
Do you want to take turns reading?
Or maybe you read it and I can fill in blanks.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Really, I just wanted to talk a little.
As the girls try to find their footing during the Great Recession, they decide to get their fortunes told in Chinatown. Ominous readings leave them questioning how long they'll stay in the Big Apple. A scary medical diagnosis for Charlotte's daughter brings the Goldenblatts to Palo Alto for Stanford's Children's Hospital. Secretly beginning to fear growing old alone, Samantha pursues a past love in San Francisco.
Whoa.
In big financial trouble, Carrie is forced to get a full-time job. Dun 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 dun. She finally finds out west, but struggles with her new boss. Miranda flies out to help Carrie and Charlotte adjust to the West Coast, but she finds her own reason to stay. Swap those Cosmos for some Pinot and enjoy the ride.
XOXO Gossip Girl.
Yeah. So we have a lot to tell you guys in Mondo. We have a lot more details.
Okay. Yeah. So the idea was, I felt like maybe we needed to get out of New York City to like switch things up. I think, Paul, you must have felt the same way because of Chicago. And so we were really trying to bring everyone, like have everyone have their own storyline for why they had to go out there. So Samantha, I think, because obviously like this whole time we haven't thought of her as someone who would get married, but like the fortune that she gets like has to like kind of plays into her fears of growing old alone. And so we think she'll end up pursuing Richard.
The big hotel man.
Who's like out in San Francisco making like millions on developing billions, sorry. Like developing hotels in San Francisco or something. And then obviously with the recession, big like loses his job, loses everything in the stock market, and
has
is like
to sell their apartment.
Depressed, and like Carrie has to just like pull them together financially. And so she can't find a job in New York because the job market is so bad. And the stress is also preventing her from like writing anything good. So Samantha, out of pity, or trying to help her out, gives her a job as like her assistant, like PR, because like right. But then the problem is they really clash as like a boss employee thing. And so that is like a whole reason that Miranda ends up having to fly out to kind of calm things down. And then during that, she and Carrie go out to Napa for a day, like drinking wine and like reconnecting and figuring out how to solve this whole problem. And then Miranda finds a foreclosed vineyard and realizes that this would be a great opportunity for Steve to transfer his knowledge of
so she invests. They buy this huge, beautiful vineyard for like $200,000
in Napa.
Sell their Brooklyn house
at a very horrible price.
But they still made money because they bought in Brooklyn at such a great time in the 90s. They were able to ride that wave. So then they reinvest in Napa and they start to maybe build, like a little stone cottage.
And like Steve finally has like the ambition or whatever. Like he loves it. That, like she always, to have.
Yeah.
And then Rose is fine too.
Mhm.
Like the guy. This
We
whole.
didn't talk about-
So Charlotte.
Yeah, the baby. So Charlotte
yeah.
has the first diagnosis, so she has to go to Stanford's medical hospital.
And so one of the things is my thought is like, you know how Charlotte so quickly wanted to convert to Judaism?
Mhm.
My thought is after getting her fortune told and like having it almost seemingly come true, she'll start getting really superstitious and like starting to like really want to get into kind of mysticism. And so she finds like not only is Stanford's Children's Hospital like a good hospital, so like Harry will get on board with it, but there's also like a doctor who's kind of like more Eastern, like not
Medicine.
Western medicine.
Yeah,
And so
the doctor really appeals to that side of Charlotte, and she decides that the only way she can save her daughter is if they go to that doctor at Stanford.
I basically like the idea of Charlotte learning to like tell fortunes and like having a lot of crystals around her and like
Yeah.
maybe doing like shrooms with some hippies in Berkeley to like
Yeah.
try and
I
find.
love that.
Yeah.
California, like Birkenstocks and all that jazz. The ending for ours, I don't know exactly how it's going to end, but when you cut to credits, immediately you're going to hear Tony Bennett singing I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
Oh.
Because we forgot to kind of play up that, but it really is going to be a love letter to the city of San Francisco.
Oh, great.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if I could suggest, maybe it becomes sort of remixed with the original theme song.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I think that covers it.
Great. Do you have a title?
Oh, we might have to get back to you on that.
Okay,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, we didn't.
Well, think it over. Think it over.
Sex in Wine Country?
Sex in the Wine Country.
Well, that was awesome. And I think that what you really nailed, I mean, you nailed everything, but what you nailed that I totally missed was the luxury. These movies really do, and the show, it has to be wrapped in a really fine material.
Yeah, I love Steve getting to really finally step up. Great.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
Well, mine is not as written out because it's all up in my head. And I have one vivid scene and the rest nothing. But
Right.
I could sort of improvise it if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on! Tell.
Close in on. You hear the classic music, right? And you see 2 feet walking down the hallway wearing vintage Manolos. And you think, I know who this is. And walking down the hallway, where is she going? She's walking so fast, but the shoes are gorgeous. Slowly, we pan up, revealing just this gorgeous sort of, making like a chic gaucho pant. Imagine that. And then like a mesh top that doesn't seem to go, and just a chain. And it's Carrie walking down a hallway. But she doesn't look as carefree as before. She looks concerned in a new way that we haven't seen before. So we're like, where is she going? Where is she going? She goes, sits down, picks up a phone. She's in a jail. She's talking to Big. Because guess what? In this movie, also financial white collar fraud that Big has committed. Yeah.
Whoa.
And so
Love it.
then we see, I mean, she's still looking good, even though she's coming to this thing, and she's still kind of wisecracking with him, you know? He apparently committed some sort of white collar fraud that we're not sure about. He believes it's due to his crooked business partners, but we don't know. We don't know what it is. So this sets off Carrie, who still has faith in Big somehow, to work with the legal team to get him out of jail, which means cue in Miranda.
Oh, yeah.
Like a voiceover of Carrie saying something like, "This wasn't the only orange problem I was dealing with." He's wearing an orange jumpsuit like jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts to Miranda maybe looking at her roots, you know, like trying to dye her
Oh,
hair.
nice.
And, then,
That's
and that was off the top of my head. You can imagine that. So then we see a little bit of Miranda's work life and what kind of lawyer she is finally. And this ties into Charlotte's storyline, which Charlotte is still doing her art gallery work. Somehow tie into she has a mysterious buyer who buys a really expensive piece, but it looks fraudulent. And this somehow ties into Big's fraudulent dealings. Somehow that'll reveal that Big is actually guilty in the end.
Whoa.
And then Samantha's storyline is just that. So Samantha, as a PR mogul, has to deal with like the online. But so she's managing her PRs, but really it's her kind of navigate internet culture and also her getting catfished and being like so offended.
Oh, nice.
So
that's good.
They explain the storyline, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Midway through, they just leave the main plot and they go to the Swiss Alps for a ski trip. And the only reason for that is I want to see what the fashion directors will do with ski clothing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see like a high fashion version of really bulky winter clothes.
That's great.
And Carrie ends up being Big.
You know what? The whole fraudulent art dealer thing is making me get major heist film vibes from this.
Yes.
I feel like
that would be great.
Sex and the City's always been missing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And one nod, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a nod that's in it that I really like is that Chris Noth, who plays Big, he plays the husband on the show The Good Wife, who's in jail for financial crimes, and the premise of that show is that the good wife has to put on a good face and like,
whoa,
yeah. So
wow. I had no idea. He just gives off white collar fraud.
Yeah.
He has a face that you can't trust, but it's a wealthy face.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, I like that.
So,
yeah.
I think mine will be like sex ? In the city. Like, because there's not a lot of, it's mainly a movie, a woman working independently, and the only person close to sex is getting catfished. So,
all right, well, I will go. I have mine written down.
That's just a little something I'm working on.
I'll start with my title: Sex and the City, the movie 2: the TV show, and that'll make sense when I get to it. So. Ooh. The women of Sex and the City are back, and this time Carrie is working on her biggest writing assignment yet, a TV show about love, sex, and friendship in New York City in your 30s. So Carrie's writing a show that's essentially about all these iconic moments from the TV show that will help us relive those. And it says, while working on the show, Carrie reflects on how she went through so much heartbreak and confusion, and all this time she thought it was worth it because it led her to Big. But now, watching it back, she realizes that Big is not really the prize, and actually what makes it worth it is that she learned that she's enough on her own. And Big is just a bonus that she gets. And so she tells this revelation to Big, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm trying to focus on the stock market. And so Carrie's like, why does it even bother me still that he won't listen to me? And so her friends are all like, well, he should listen to you. But also, yeah, why haven't you learned anything? And so her thing in the movie is sort of figuring out what she actually wants in a relationship, and realizing also that she truly has made very little progress in all these years. Okay, meanwhile, with the movie, Smith Jerrod is back and he's been cast as Stanford. So in order to prepare, he gets to, like, his storyline is he explores the New York City, like, gay scene with Stanford and Anthony. And that's just, like, a fun little side thing happening. Wow. And even though in the first movie, Steve and Miranda did decide to work it out, they met on the bridge, as we all saw, they realized that they really aren't fully happy in the relationship. And by the time my movie starts, they're already divorced. So, bye. Bye, Steve. Bye.
This does not bode well for you. As someone who is fully a Miranda, who is dating someone who's fully a Steve.
Okay, well, hang on, because now the actress that's playing Miranda's character in Carrie's TV show, that actress is a lesbian in real life, or in the real life of this movie, and seeing that helps Miranda feel comfortable admitting that she's always been attracted to women too, and is actually bisexual. And so in the movie, she's dating men and women throughout the whole movie, and she's not really ending up with anyone in particular, but like this helps give us those classic vibes of the TV show, watching them date a bunch of people. And Samantha is always trying to give her advice because she thinks she knows everything about dating women because she dated that one woman. And also Samantha's storyline is that she keeps hooking up with all the actors that are playing all the guys on the TV show. So all the other women are like, stop hooking up with all the younger, better looking versions of all our exes. And that'll just be fun, get to see Samantha with like someone who looks like Aiden or looks like Big, all of them. And then for Charlotte, her daughter Lily, from being on set of the TV show, decides she wants to be an actress. So Charlotte starts looking into this, but then she realizes how toxic being a child actor is. And so she teams up with another child actor's mom, played by Reese Witherspoon, to fight for like better like mental health support for child actors and shorter working hours and like just better conditions overall. And then there's a brief like meta moment when Carrie's show debuts, and it's just met with a ton of backlash for like its portrayal of gay men and transgender people and lack of diversity and there's all these real problems with the TV show. Yeah. And so it gets canceled immediately. But the saving grace is that Big watched the show, and then watching it back, he realizes that he's actually kind of a jerk to Carrie sometimes, and he wants to be a better guy. And so Carrie's like, yay. And so that's Sex and the City, the movie, too, the TV show.
It being about the show, it gives a finality to it. It's like the series finale again. Like, this is our curtain call.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That is good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally what I would do here is put these each up for voting, or would you rather just me go one by one and you each say your favorite, and we'll see what happens?
How about we could say which part of each pitch we love the most.
Yeah, we can do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like overall they're pretty equal for me.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all solid.
I agree. I would have to say that my favorite is the Untitled Miller Project.
Hey, trying to get in a fight with me.
Say what you liked about what everyone said.
Yeah.
Because I like the Miller.
Well, my favorite parts. My favorite parts about theirs was the whole thing, and it's a rags to riches story because you never see them without money. So it would be nice to take away their money, and then of course you want to see them be rich, so they get it. It's about them getting it back.
To get there.
Yeah. I liked a lot of your pitch, Aliya. My absolute favorite part of it was probably Samantha getting catfished, just because of, I really loved the legal stuff, and the reveal at the beginning of Big being in prison got me the most. But in terms of like storylines, as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I wish that was an episode. The Samantha thing was just like, hit me. What I do also like about yours is that the drama is turned up to a movie, to a cinematic point. And then what I liked most about yours was also the whole thing. I liked the whole thing, but what surprised me the most and the thing that seemed the most refreshing was Smith getting a subplot that paired him with Stanford and Anthony. That sounded like a ton of fun that I just wouldn't expect to get. So I really like that.
Thank you, yeah. That was
who wants to
painful.
go next?
Paul, I think the thing I liked the most about yours was that I would love to see the scenes with all the guys and like the kids. Yes. And I feel like there's a lot of like good moments for like some comedic relief. So I think I would really like to see that. I also love bringing in Reese Witherspoon, and also because I feel like
it's so awesome you have Reese Witherspoon.
I feel like yours really has a movie feel to it, like with the whole heist thing and like the mystery of whether or not he's guilty. I think I would really like to see Miranda have like you were saying, like show her in action, because like she's obviously like we know through the show and everything that she's a great lawyer. Like she's already made, I think, partner. So it's like, but then we never see it. So I feel like this would be a good opportunity for her to kind of like shine professionally.
Paul, I love the idea of a Jennifer Hudson Charlotte duet.
Oh yeah,
and I for some reason as soon as you said that, I was like, it's got to be Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh man!
But I was like, even when you said that she was rehearsing it with Harry, I was like, it's probably going to be Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And then I would watch that movie, and I would be,
but only if it were. Ain't No Mountain High.
Only if that's only if that was the karaoke.
It fits right in because I think Charlotte would be doing the lead, like the "Ain't No Mountain High," and then Jennifer Hudson's going "Oh no" in the background.
Yeah, like I said, I love the heist aspect of it. I already talked about that. What I really see with yours is like this sort of like a darker side of Sex and the City of all these characters, which I love, and I feel like I totally picture a really moody director, like Gus Van Sant or
Tim Burton.
even Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
So the picture this with a Christopher Nolan Sex and the City sequel.
Oh.
I think he would probably take the job. I think he would consider it. Finally, he'd make a good movie.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And then, Kim, it's so funny that you said that you saw Charlotte's daughter wanting to be an actor because and Anika can attest to this.
Yes.
I had originally pitched like the idea of Charlotte becoming a stage mom and really into this whole Hollywood thing. So I have to say that part definitely spoke to me the most. And I always love Hollywood's portrayal of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So whenever Hollywood is in a movie or a show, I love that. So I think that was also a great part of it.
Kim, I really also love the sort of meta-ness and sort of the idea of the creators of Sex and the City using the movie as a vehicle to fix everything they've done wrong over 94 episodes, as if it's just like clean slate now. It's like, that was the point all along, as we built up to this movie to point out how wrong we were. Or like, I think that's excellent. The Millers, I love the darkness of having the sick child, like a very storyline into like, let's remodel this winery. I like that dichotomy. And then Paul, I was also going to say bringing back St. Louise and having her elevated to like the star of the movie and like the hit columnist. And I like Carrie not being the star, but I like really pushing those limits of really not making her like the it girl and seeing how she would react to that genuinely. Overall, I love all of them. I'll greenlight all of them.
Yeah.
Paul's my favorite part is the picture you painted of Carrie getting splashed by the bus that has Jennifer Hudson.
That's what sold it to me.
Yeah, that feels like really just an excellent moment in cinema history. With the Millers, which I love calling you as if that's what you always go about.
We've never referred to you as the Millers.
I really love, as I've already said, Steve getting into the vineyard with his bartending. Yeah. It's always sort of a thing where it's like always just a bartender, and for him to finally earn some respect would be really just incredible and much needed after that first movie where all he does is disrespect.
Yeah.
From all of us.
Yeah.
With Aliya, what I love is what I imagine the snow fashion to be. I really love that you added that touch. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, that was all of them, yeah.
Right.
I think I'm just going to go ahead and say to hell with the format of the show and just not declare a winner this time.
And there, in the same city where they met as girls, 4 New York women entered the next phase of their lives.
Because you guys have shown me a kinder, gentler, better way. And also, all of these were better than 2.
Paul, if you told us that you didn't like ours as much as the second movie, I would feel pretty upset.
I would seriously question your taste.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
But Miley's cameo, guys.
We can talk about Miley's cameo.
And Miley's a girl's girl. She's a girl's girl. Samantha, come over here, girl.
I don't understand why they all acted like that resolved it too. They're like, oh, okay, it's just a Hollywood moment.
Yeah.
I think they were like, it's going to be a showdown. And then it's like, actually, women can support women.
15-year-old women can pose with 50-year-old women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the cameo factor in 2. Because there was so much of it up front, I wish it would have been in 1. Because like every time I saw someone, I was a little bit excited.
Yeah, it's funny the idea that all these celebrities watched the first movie and they're like, I've got to be in the sequel.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for doing this. This was a blast, despite it being 5 hours of movie to watch.
I want all of these films written.
Yeah.
These sequels.
Guys, maybe we should make this like a variety show, like a theater thing. We can all play different.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Paul will play all the men in the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we can
in terms of how much screen time they get, that would be fine.
If it's theater, some of us can play the men, too. I think any one of us can pull off Smith Jarrett.
Well, is there anything anybody wants to plug before we wrap it up?
Maybe the original Sex and the City series.
Oh, sure.
If someone has not watched all 90 plus episodes to watch those before diving into the movies.
Yeah, with the warning that the first season's not as good.
Oh, yeah.
And that there's a lot of problematic stuff throughout the entire series, but fun nonetheless.
Wear a mask.
And stay at home if you can.
Stay at home.
All right. Well, I mean, thanks again. Thanks for listening. And everybody say their own version of a goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Oh, very nice. That was
Wait,
Marina.
did you get my ciao? Did you get my ciao?
Oh, no.
I said ciao.
Okay.
I feel like Marina got all the attention.
No,
I
I'm
said
glad
ciao.
you repeated it. It was important to note. Follow-up Showdown. The movie we're talking about today is 1996's Twister with my BFF from college, Dustin Weisskopf.
This is the only film that the MPAA gave a rating of PG-13 for, and I quote, intense depiction of very bad weather.
Yes.